Hello, everybody, and welcome back to interviews. Today, we're talking about the new Demon Slayer movie. It's not the new Demon Slayer movie; it came out last year, but it's officially out on streaming services right now. So I was able to rewatch it again because I watched it when it came out in theaters. Not when it was like a week after it came out in theaters. I thought it would be like the same with the Razor Arc movie, where like it comes out and then like a month later it's almost this it's on Crunchyroll, but they did something different with the Demon Slayer movie. Well, it was strictly on theaters. If you wanted to watch it, you just had to watch it on theater. So you gotta support, the animation and whatnot. So I went to watch it with a couple of my friends. I didn't make a review about it because I didn't even start my channel at that time. But since it's out right now, let's talk about this. How was the movie? How did I enjoy it? How it was. I can even tell you how I enjoyed. It was very good. From the fights, the animation quality was amazing. The story, the music, everything about it was amazing. One qualm I have about the story is we had a lot of flashbacks, and I can understand it because you're cramming like what's this three story arcs in a 2 hour movie, which if you're watching like a 2 hour movie, the flashback kind of get like a nuisance part. Like for example, we had Shinobu's flashback, we had Zenitsu's flashback, we had who's this Kyoto's flashback. Like everyone in the show had, not everyone, but like you know people whose arcs they were having like flashbacks. So it was okay. Anyway, aside from that, let's talk about like the show itself. Since it's out on like what's this? Since it's a 2 hour movie, I won't do my usual reviews where I kind of go into like each part, each sections. I'll just talk about like the three major battles that happened and tell you my thoughts on like how how the fight was, how it concluded, and everything about it. All right, let's talk about the first major fight that we actually see in like the movie itself. It's the Doma and Shinobu fight. What was my thoughts on it? This was an incredible, it was a very fantastic. But I enjoyed thoroughly. Um, and I wasn't really like I was upset that Shinobu kind of died, but you kind of understand because what's this? It's canonically that I don't know if it's true or not, but what's this? Doma is stronger than the upper three, so I, I it would have been satisfying to like see him die, but like I wanted to see more of Doma. Like he just fascinated me a lot to the point where like I wanted to see more of Doma. Okay, now let's talk about the things we kind of learned in this fight. The first thing we learned is Shinobu has is a flawed character, and by flawed character I mean she is she kind of despises herself because she's really petite, arms, legs, all the above. She's very small. She isn't as physically strong as like Guillaume, like the other Hashira. So like she couldn't even be able to. She wasn't even strong enough to like actually cut an actual demon's head off, kind of which kind of alludes to like which kind of ties into like her type of breathing style. Her type of breathing style is insect breathing, where she kind of uses her speed mostly. She's a very fast person, even though my confirms that she is like the fastest Hashira she's ever faced. The drawback is that she didn't have like the strength enough to actually cut Doma's head. But we did see some great poison, but she is a poison master, so she kind of developed a lot of really unique poisons. But the downside is Doma's regeneration was really quick to the point where like was adapting to like the poisons that she was giving out, and at the end was how even though her poisons were strong, his regeneration, his adaptability was too fast for her, and which it was kind of sad as well. Now let's talk about we in this fight we got two backstories. We got Doma and Shinobu's backstory. Let's start with Doma's backstory first. No, let's start with Shinobu's backstory because it's first in the series. Okay. We're starting with Doma. Since the video was already up at Doma's part, we start with Doma. Anyway, Doma was a smart shot, and by smart I mean really smart, like genius shot. He could understand people. He could read and understand people's really well because in this flashback we kind of learn that how his parents were. Oh no, they were cultists because they believed Doma was a chosen child. From his rainbow eyes to his white hair to like his calm demeanor to his handsomeness. I doubt they say that, but like I find him handsome. Anyway, as you know, as they continue like praising Doma, a cult kind of developed around Doma to the point where like every each and every one was like coming in to pray for good lucks, good health, and good health, which I feel like kind of fucked him up in the head because if grown-ups are coming to you, a literal child, for like advice, you listening to like the hardships they're having, it's and you trying to be the best person you have to be, you're trying to find a solution to a problem you don't really know. It kind of turns to like what it turns out, which he tried to find every solution he could, which he came to one point, which was everyone becomes happy right after death. Death is like this is the same thing that happened in Overlord. You should check it out. Another great anime. Overlord. There was a scene where the main character said, "Death is equal to everyone, no matter if you're rich, poor, sick, healthy. Death comes to all equally." That's Doma's was mindset right now, but kind of different. Where like his mindset was on if people die, they'll be eternally happy. If they leave their mortal flesh, they'll be eternally happy. Because to him, humans were weak and like he thought he had the savior complex where he thought that he was saving them by killing them. He was saving them from this life they're having, saving them from all this tragedy they're getting through. All right, now let's move on to the second backstory. The second backstory we had in the first fight was Shinobu's backstory, which her sister was a demon slayer as well, but she ended up dying. She was killed by Domo. So like this fight was on a personal level, which once you understand that, you kind of you felt bad. You kind of felt sad when she died because her goal was to like kill the demon that killed her sister and she wasn't able to like achieve it. That's kind of like a sad part of like Shinobu, where she kind of doesn't really get closure for like her life's goal was killing that demon, but she died without feeling that life's goal. That's what I said in like the intro of the video, where I said to me, Domo was like an interesting character where I wanted to see more of him, but like there was a conflicting emotion where like you know where Shinobu was coming from. Shinobu is one of the main characters, and her dying, with like an unresolved, unresolved like grudge that she has been having for a long time is really sad and whatnot. But fight wise, it was an incredible fight. The animation was amazing. I loved the details in like the weapons when they were fighting, the clash, the clinging, everything about it. Domo, like I said, he was the most fascinating character in this entire watch list. Anyway, I didn't do like a comprehensive dive to the backstory because I'm a stupid anime reviewer. I'm not that deep. So let's move on to like the second biggest fight with. Okay, the next major fight we had was with Zenitsu and Kaijaku. Like, if you remember from season 4, was it? Anyway, from last season, Zenitsu was really locked in, and we wanted to know, like, what's different from, like, this fight to the previous fight. So then we kind of learned that Upper Rank 6 was also, like, the heir to the Thunder Breathing style. There was a big major difference between them. Zenitsu could only learn, like, the first style, which she perfected, which we know of, but Keijaku could only learn everything other than the first form, which to him, because the first form is basically like the basics, understanding the basics, which I don't know how you can fail to like learn anything other than the basics anyway. Which to him he had an inferior complex. I think it was he thought he was the chosen one. I think because he didn't he didn't understand why Zenitsu, a trash, in his words, a trash student, is on the same rank with them because they were you know, co-leaders. Like they were supposed to be both running like the thunder breathing because Zenitsu could learns the first style, he learns the other style, both together become there was the thunder breathing, which I I kind of I understand where the Gramps was coming from, but like I also don't understand because I get where he's coming from. I get where like K Jocko is coming from because The first form is basically like the basics of like the thunder breathing. So like to if I was put in a Kaijaku form, I wouldn't do the thing that he did, but I'll understand the frustration you're feeling because I've learned all like 2 to 5, the only 5 stars. I've learned 2 to 5, all mastered it. But since I couldn't learn the basics, I'm putting up with someone who can only learn the first star, which to him is the inferiority complex. He was upset with everything. He was a very salty man. Through his last breath, till his death, he was a salty man, and it was it was kind of sad and satisfying to see him die. Like there's a part of me like that kind of understood where he's coming from, but like there was a part of me that kind of hated him because like he was putting so much trash to like Zenitsu, and we kind of we also in this show in the movie we kind of see the different paths they took. Where Zenitsu took the path where he honed his thunder breathing first one, he honed it to the point of perfection, where Keijaku took the different path. He chose power over like practicing his thunder breathing. Even in the fight when Zenitsu won the fight, it was stated that was Keijaku would have won if he actually mastered the thunder breathing. He knew the forms, but like he hadn't fully mastered it. That was, I think, his downfall. His downfall was chasing power without like understanding what that power really is. Even when he became a demon, like the only thing that boosted was maybe his physical strength and everything. Aside from that, his blood demon arts was basically combined with his thunder breathing. I feel like if he trained more, because I feel like once he became like an upper rank, he stopped training because he thought he reached the pinnacle of strength. But there is no pinnacle. The pinnacle is always you climbing higher. So I think his downfall is he was looking for shortcuts to like getting actual strength. What Zenitsu was taking a different path where he was working hard for that strength, and with that hard work kind of paid off because we got to see the sun thunder breathing seventh form, which this shape was the most hype thing I've ever seen. This was like really incredible. The animation popped off. Seeing Zenitsu actually cutting the head of the what's this made me shriek. It was like it was the cool Zenitsu like everyone wanted to see. This is the type of Zenitsu we really did want to see. Anyway, like I said, which we achieved the seventh form of thunder breathing, which I feel like it's a fuse of thunder breathing and Kinokami Kazura that Tanjiro uses, because you can see like the fire and the lightning mix. So I think he took inspiration from like Tanjiro, then used it with his thunder breathing style to achieve a seventh form, a form that's not cannot be achieved because thunder breathing has, I think, was it 5 or 6? I feel like it had 5 forms. Yeah, I feel like thunder breathing had 5 forms, and so but no, it's 6 forms because since Zenitsu created the seventh, that means thunder breathing had 6 forms. I feel like if Jack like actually learned, studied, he would have been able to like create a form itself, because breathing styles are developed through generation of generation, because the basics, the first form, the basics were like the root, and people kind of started developing other breathing styles. So I feel like because he was a genius, he was able to skip the basics and learn other forms. But I feel like if he chose the same path as Zenitsu, he would have been able to achieve Hashira level status. But it's it's what it is. Life is not fair to all. All right, now let's talk about the main fight. The fight that I went to the movie theaters to actually see. The fight between Tanjiro, Agiyu, and Akaza. This fight was better than I expected. This fight was everything and more. Like this fight in its entirety, like I could make a whole dedicated video to just this fight alone. But I want to talk about the main parts of the fight. The fights that we actually see, we in this fight, in this what's this part segment of the fight, we actually see what's this, two separate flashbacks. A flashback of Tanjiro where he was about to evolve his skin no Kamikaze, his fire breathing style, into like a new level where he reached, an I think it was an ethereal form. It was basically like Goku's Ultra Instinct type of thing, where like his body was moving. He didn't. He had no. He was fighting with no killing intent, no fighting spirit, which sounds crazy, but like Akusa can sense someone's fighting spirit. The stronger the fighting spirit, the stronger his senses be. That's why he got. He was like able to deflect fights, deflect blows, and everything like that. But when was this? This this was a peak that Tanjiro himself didn't even know how to come in. Now let's talk. The backstory that we saw was of Tanjiro's father. Like explaining about talking about the King no Kamikaze, the dance itself, where like he was showing Tanjiro like the dance and everything. Tanjiro was asking that because his father was sickly. Tanjiro was asking if like he doesn't get tired, and if he's getting tired, Tanjiro can take over the mantle of doing the dance. But his father kind of told him something that which he applied in this new technique that we developed. That at first it was hard, and as he did it more, it became like a flow state where like his body was doing it naturally without him, like, I wouldn't say that him even doing anything, but like it became like a second thought to him. There was nothing. He was just doing it. His body was just doing it. That's the same thing with Tanjos right now. There was no intent to kill. There was no fighting spirit. His body was just fighting. It was like an autopilot. It was like an AI doing something. His body was there was no hatred, no malice, no anything in his eyes. Even Akusa said it. He was pure at this point. Akusa couldn't detect anything, which kind of bangled with his head, because I feel like even though he couldn't detect, I feel like he would fight, but like since he relies on that ability a lot, to the point where like if something, that tiny thing that Tenjo did disrupted him so bad, to the point where like he didn't know what to do. Oh yeah, another important thing that we kind of saw was Akusa was literally up was evolving during this fight, because we cut off his head, but like he cut it, trying to reattach it, and then we removed it again, and then he closed up the wound, and then he was trying to regenerate. He was basically becoming like he was trying to evolve into someone like Muzan, where like no matter, even if you cut off his head, he would even if you cut off his head, it will regenerate. The only way to defeat him would be with sunlight. I feel like he would have been able to evolve past needing sunlight as well, but we didn't get to like actually see it. But it was a great fight. But the one thing that I loved about this segment was Akusa's backstory. Now I know I said that the backstories were too much, but like Akusa's backstory to me was more compelling than the other two. Like Shinobu's backstory was an okay backstory. It was like it was there. I know it was trying to, give us Shinobu's motivations. Was this Zenitsu's backstory was also okay. I loved Zenitsu's backstory. It gives us more understanding to what Zenitsu is. It made us see like him actually develop as a character. But like the backstory that gave me like an emotional moment was Akusa's backstory. Someone who like grew up as he wasn't a criminal, but like since his parents were his father was really poor and sickly, I was resorted to like actually stealing, but he was then when he got caught, he was beaten up really badly. Like look at this image, he was beaten up really badly, but he didn't care about beating up. He didn't care no matter how many times they beat him up, as long as he was able to like give his father the nutrients he needs, give him the food, give him like the was this that he needed, which was the only thing. But when his father learned that he got arrested again, he committed suicide, which my interpretation of him committed suicide was he didn't want to like burden Akusa anymore, because Akusa resorted to like actually steal him for his sake, and he didn't want Akusa to like live a life of crime for his sake. So he took himself out of the equation so Akusa could start off a new life. He didn't he didn't do it because he hated Akusa and he hated being associated with. He did it because he loved him, and he didn't want to be the anger that takes Akusa down to the dark path, the wrong path. Even after that, we found some new people who like accepted us, who we loved. We were almost about to get married to this girl, and then strategy struck, because we were staying in a dojo, and they got jealous of us. They kind of poisoned Akusa's master, and the daughter, Akusa's soon to be wife, which was really sad. And then Akusa going on a killing spree, killing everyone from the dojo, becoming a demon because he wanted to achieve strength, but he lost the memories, he lost the reason he wanted to achieve strength. The only desire was to become stronger. He didn't know why he wants to become stronger, which was a sad. But the conclusion of him was amazing. I don't know why, but like the author gives the demons a really satisfying conclusion. I feel Doma won't have a satisfying conclusion, but I hope his conclusion was amazing. Anyway, I'm out of time. I'm Hunter, and oh, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm Hunter, and I'll see you in the next one. Capiche?